What is up, gamers? Welcome back to another episode of Jack's Music Reviews. This is episode 3. If this video gets 15 likes, I'll re-record the first one. I'm trying to get better with the audio because last week's audio apparently was bad, but also I'm no audio expert here. I'm still working on it. After all, I have this microphone. What do you expect me to do? Actually use it? Like, no. Next. So the 4 albums we have this week, guys. One is called Mood Swings by Vedo. The other is called My Tribe by Blessing Offor. One is called Strays by Margo. And the friend requested album from 2015 is Story So Far by The Story So Far. Zach, thank you for that recommendation. Without further ado, let's get right into it. Enjoy some snowboarding. Sit back, relax, get your snacks. Also, yes, I'm sick. Sorry. Can't be perfect here. Let's start off with My Tribe by Blessing Offor. This album has 16 songs. It takes 45 minutes and 11 seconds to listen to it. I don't know anything about Blessing Offor before this album. Never heard of him. So yeah.
So what do you say to a family, a country, and a continent that you haven't seen in over 25 years? Because of course it would be.
Alright, so right off the bat, this intro track is like a 40-second message to his home, and he talks about how grateful he is for them because he knows that they've been praying for his success while he's been away from them. Alright, the second track is called Brighter Days. It sounds like that song from Fast and Furious or something when Paul Walker died. Listen to this again with that in mind. I know there's gonna be some brighter days, and I'll tell you all about it when I see. Okay, you get it. I'm not gonna put my singing in there, but he talks a lot about how there's gonna be brighter days. I mean, you gotta look out because they're coming. Things they always get better. Things are gonna be all right. You know what I mean? He says in this song that ashes fall from burning dreams. It's really some nice lyrics in this first track to start right off. And a lot of the instruments throughout the track, they're really light and gentle, but when you combine them all together, it creates a really full sound. This next track is called Your Love. This kind of has the same vibe as the last one. It's just some real instrumental piano. I mean, you could even say it's some like Elton John style of piano, but not really an Elton John sound. I don't know if that's an accurate description, but that's just kind of the vibes I'm getting. He says, keep me right there in the middle of your love. He talks about this person being their guiding figure and guiding star. It's real emotional filled piece, and you can tell he feels really strongly for and about this person, and it's a real sweet piece. So this next song starts off with an already automatically sensed anticipation for whatever's to come. The song is titled Feel Good, and now listen to this drop.
Yeah, bring the beat in. I'm by your side.
I mean, come on, you can't really ask for much better than that, you know what I mean? It kind of has the same sound as the last couple songs, but more of like, oh, I want to get up and dance, I'm having a good time with my friends type of vibe, you know what I mean? There's a lot of drums, some claps in this. It's really going to keep your head moving around in the car, you know what I mean? He says in the song, give me that good feeling, and it's basically what this song does. I don't know if he was talking to who, but that's what this song does to me. It gives me that good feeling, you know what I mean? So the song was pretty good as well. I mean, this track, he talks about in this song how he doesn't want to be anyone but himself. He talks about song, he says, all your love is all I want to need. All I used to be was wasted energy. He also talks about how badly he wants to be someone's, he wants to feel like he belongs to someone or be with someone, have someone call them his, and all that sweet stuff. The next track is called Believe. It's a little bit slower. It's talking about how there's some doubt creeping in to the love that he's receiving from someone. He says, if you don't give me what I want, but you give me what I need, is that enough to believe in your love? Some good poetry right there too. So as you see, it's some more emotional piano tracks, a little more emotional drums with the, longer distances between the drum beats, kind of feeling a little more like a heartbeat. Stuff like that. This next song is how I found this album. It was on my Discover Weekly for Spotify. This song it sounds exactly like the title. It's called Rollin'. The song, just the track, just all the instruments are rolling. They're grooving. The beat's going. It's all good stuff like that. He says, "You're the rock when I've been rolling." Talking about the real friendship that he's received from this person when others are kind of so-so. Genres are kind of becoming like obsolete. It's kind of hard to define anyone's music really. But you could, this dances with country, this track, but I'm not going to say it's bad. You know what I mean? Like, that could easily, you play those 2 seconds for someone, and that could easily be a song about tractors, God, and beer. You know what I mean? So, but it's not. It's "You're the rock when I keep rolling." The next song, I think, is a song to someone called Grace. And in this track, he's talking about how he knows he made mistakes. He knows that he's done them wrong. He's trying to tell them what they mean to him. And this next song sounds pretty similar. Selfish how I take advantage from how. Yeah, so this next song keeps the same kind of sound going. It almost sounds like a little bit like some choir gospel type vibes. How tired changes change. You know what I mean? And he talks about how change is coming. You just gotta keep holding out faith, keep holding out hope, all this stuff. The same kind of message as the song Brighter Days. He knows there's going to be some brighter days. He knows that change is coming, so that's what that's about. This next track is a light little interlude over some piano or keys or whatever, some light keys, some fun bouncy keys, and it's just it says "What a World." It's kind of more to his home, his family from back home.
There's a lot of wisdom in the Igbo tradition and
the next song is a little more upbeat than the previous 2 songs. You can keep your mind. So it's super funky. You're gonna even catch some Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak notes in this one. You know what I mean? It's an homage to his people and tribe. He compares them to, he calls them my Jackson 5. He talks about how nice it is when they all come together. He talks about how lucky he feels when they're all together and how great all these close people are to him. Okay. The next song is all about this guy taking responsibility for when he's done wrong. He's telling people not to worry, that he's going to fix it. Puts a little more bass and drums focus into this. Every once in a while you hear the keys making a splash too, and just combining all their sounds to really let this guy, he's like, I got it, don't worry, you know what I mean? This next track starts off as like a little bit of like a folk sound almost. Talks about comparing where they are now in the love that he has for this person compared to where they started. He's saying, look at how far we've come almost, you know what I mean? He says, look up at the stars and feel how small we are. Some great lyrics right there too. Feel how small we can look up at. You get what I mean by that country vibe. This 14th track is a continuation of the 10th interlude. Again, I don't know what any of the words are. This next song has some horns in it. The piano has a little more melody going to it. He talks about how hard love can be. He says, I'd wish you away, but I wouldn't know where you are. Talking about maybe how he doesn't really like this person anymore. He doesn't want to see them anymore, but he can't deal with the fact knowing that they might have another life and that he might not know where they are or what they're doing. And so it kind of compares the 2 sides of this love that he's feeling right now. This next song is called Looking for God, and it talks to how he's turning to God, whatever that may be for him, and help for all of his struggles and the strength to wait for his struggles. It's a very emotional, slow track. The piano has a heavy, if we could speak piano, then the piano would probably be agreeing with everything he has to say in the song, if that makes sense. And it's a very emotional piece about his fears, his hopes, everything he's just putting in the hands of God. And so that's the last track of this album. And I really like this album. I'm gonna give it definitely a listen. Like, obviously, listen to this song. I mean, it's got potential to be that, that album that you're bumping over the summer. Everyone's looking for, what's the summer music going to be? You know what I mean? Everyone's waiting. They're building up the playlist. Like this has potential for some of those, mark my words. There's beautiful piano sounds in here serenading the lyrics to tell you about all the things that will make your heart glow. You know what I mean? You're going to feel warm inside. You might shed a tear during this. I think this type of music, this simple sound, it's not complex. It's not intricate. It's not groundbreaking. But what it is it's delicate and it's purposeful and intentional, and it's really hard to maintain that at such a high quality without it getting boring or basic or just sounding like radio tracks. So that being said, I really respect the sound from Blessing Offor, you know what I mean? And it's hard because these ratings are a little hard. A part of me wants to give it an S tier, you know what I mean? But I just don't know. I think for now I'm going to give it an S tier, because when I first listened to it, I was like, man, that's incredible. It's definitely S tier. Upon further review, I'm thinking, maybe A, maybe I got a little too excited about it. But I think I'm just going to stick with my gut and put this album here at S. Because it's really hard to do what he did without it sounding boring, washed, or just overdone. You know what I mean? That type of genre is really, really saturated with similar sounds, and I just think he did a great job. He freshened it up, brought it to a new light, all of that. This album is called Strays by Margo Price. Again, never heard of Margo Price before, but that's alright. Let's get right into it. So, here it is. This album is 10 songs. It's about 45 minutes again, like the last one. And let's get right into it. I mean, this song starts off with some tambourine bells, in the background, starting off with a little kick of light rock, a little bit of angry, emotional rock, like just a small hint of it to let you know what's coming. And it kind of dances around all the different identities that she's had. She says, I used to be a waitress, but now I'm a consumer. It compares a lot of different things about kind of the inverse roles that they play and how she's been a lot of them. She's talking about both sides of life and her perceptions of her identity, and how she's now having some anxieties about being watched. I didn't really know where those came in. I don't know if I misunderstood that, but she talked about some anxiety she has about being watched or paid too much attention to. I'm not sure. The next track has much more of like a guitar, country, finger picking slant. Still definitely would fall into the rock category. It features Mike Campbell, and a few lyrics that really stuck out to me are empty bottles full of time, and words are just a shadow of a figure that we speak, spoken like an echo we're so willing to repeat. And those are just grade A classic bars for you, you know what I mean? So you get this sound in this one. This one features Sharon Von Etten. It's a similar sound to the previous one, maybe a little more like grunge, you know what I mean? It's got a little more of that like going on to it, you know what I mean? And it talks about how she's feeling like she needs to log into life, you know what I mean? The things on her phone are distracting her, social constructs are distracting her, all this connectivity is distracting her, and how it's really going to drive her insane, you know what I mean? She's like, I think I need a change in my life to help out at the end, is what she starts talking about. And then she says, the only thing I have on is the radio, which I think is great. I mean, music's going to save all of us, and she's aware of that. Because honestly, if you had to get rid of all your electronics but one, you're lying if you're saying you're not keeping the music player, and that is just a fact. This next track, a little more on that country stomping vibes. I might get up and square dance to this type of song, especially because it's about changing her mind about loving this person who she seems to have loved for a while and pretty strongly. It keeps that country rock sound going, but like I said, I mean, you're telling your lover that you've had a change of heart. I'm a square dance up on you, turn around and snap a move in your face and walk away, you know what I mean? In this song, though, it seems like she's a little confused. She says that I never loved you and I always will, and I'm not really sure what that means. And towards the end of the song, though, it seems like she kind of changed her mind. She had a second change of heart. This next song is a little slower. It's got more of a like piano melody going to it. You know what I mean? She says in the song, you think you're going to last forever, but forever says you're not. You know, the bass and the drums kind of carry the tempo and pace of this song. I feel like with the piano, it would feel like it's kind of slow, sad, and dragging, but this drums and bass of this song kind of make it confident. She takes the perspective that some people have on life about how it's meaningless, and in the grand picture of things, you know, nothing matters, so you might as well have as much fun as you can. And she talks a lot about the person in this song who makes her feel this way, or she goes to when she wants to feel this way. I'm not too sure, but either way, there's a person involved with these feelings. The next song, Time Machine. So you know what I mean, it's groovy. You saw me groove into that track, but you know, the bass line is there the whole time, carrying the track throughout. The drums, the groovy drums, it just keeps you going. And she's talking about, she wants to go back to the good days of the love that she had, you know. It's called Time Machine. In a lot, she talks about, I want to ride in a time machine. I want to ride in a time machine. Gives you some clues that she wants to go back to how life used to be. She's feeling nostalgia. This next song is called Hell in the Heartland. And it starts with a little bit of desert, country, abandoned vibes, you know what I mean? Like you're expecting Wile E. Coyote to feature on this song. It turns out the Heartland is quite literally the land inside of her heart. She says, you're everything I want in someone I don't want anymore. Each instrument kind of in this track has a very patterned call and answer theme to it, a very short response, but it's also very patterned, like you might find in the desert with the bird cawing, then the tumbleweed always goes, then the wind blows, and then the spider crawls under a rock. But that happens every day like that. It kind of gives that vibe about how this is, you know, always going on in her heart. It's empty, but it's constant, you know what I mean? It's got a feeling of familiar emptiness. Kind of talks about the world wearing you down and how it's obvious sometimes when you're so worn down, everyone else can see it, you know what I mean? And it seems like everyone is paying that much more attention to you when you're having a bad day or just worn down from the grind or whatever, and how that makes her feel. The next track, I don't know, it's called Lydia. I don't know if it's a character she has for herself, if Margo Price is not her real name, you know what I mean? But it talks about her struggles with heroin addiction. So it's a bit of a glum acoustic guitar going on. You know what I mean? It talks about all the bad things she's been told that have formed perceptions that she's damaged herself with throughout her life. She wonders if they're true or valid, or if they're just learned and she's wrong about them. There's a point of recovery in this song, in her journey and her well-being, and it's completely ruined by a car accident that she gets into, and it really just speaks to the ups and downs that we may find in life. The next song is beautiful. The track is beautiful. Spacey, echoey, all of these sounds are just coming in to just let the lyrics marinate in them. It talks about how love is the silver lining of everything. But sometimes she feels like she has so many dreams and ambitions that she could pursue that it overwhelms her sometimes. I feel like I can relate to that. You know, it just so many things you want to do. There's only so many hours in a day. And how she just is going to pick to stay and live on the fringe instead, kind of on the outskirts, doing whatever she wants. Maybe seeming a little crazy, but it's a sweet song. Nice moving piece. So with that being said, that's the end of this album. The poetry in this album carried it for me, you know, and I felt like it dragged at sometimes, you know what I mean? If I had to listen to this album all the way through again, I don't know if I'd be able to without skipping, you know what I mean? But it's hard to critique her on anything, because this could be exactly what she was going for, you know what I mean? So I don't think there's anything excellent. I would say the poetry is really good and creative. Not really the best I've ever heard, but still really good quality poetry. some good lines. But I do think that this album does a really good job using the sounds, the spaces, the goods, the bads, and both sides of love and struggle, which are a common classic trope in music. And so for that reason, I'm going to give this album a B rating. That's just all I really have to say about it. It's a good album. You should listen to it. But I don't expect it to really go to the top charts. I don't really expect to listen to it again much, and you know what I mean? That's just how it is. Swings by Vedo. This song, this album starts out groovy. Did you hear that? The piano with those crazy loud kicks. This song, this whole song has that sound in it. Listen to this. He says in the song, I'm watching you undress is such a pleasure. The weatherman said it'd be puddles in the bed. We all know what this guy's talking about, He sounds like Chris Brown. This is a Chris Brown type of sound, you know what I mean? To compare, to give you an idea, this is Chris Brown sounding music. This next song is called Celebrate. It's a little more laid back than the last song, not so much in your face, but groove is still the word I'm using with this. My head is still moving back and forth. I'm still in the car like this, you know what I mean? Had a similar message like the last song. Talks about how much he loves this person, and he wants to celebrate it, He's proud of this person. He wants to let him know. He wrote him a song about how he's going to celebrate, and he's going to celebrate by listening to Celebrate while celebrating with this person, you know what I mean? This next track is called Somebody Else. Now again, genres are super hard. It's hard to limit anyone to a label, you know what I mean? But this beat kind of sounds like Bozzy mixed with Drake. Anyways, he says, you used to be my go-to, now I don't even know you. And then he says, you act like you don't know that I'm that guy. Some great lyrics to put into here, it's called Somebody Else. A little more about love and all that stuff. This album turns out to be all about love. This next song is called Soul. It's a basic guitar riff in the back with some hi-hats going on, some quick drums, but a little simpler track. It talks about how he knows he's hard to love. My life have been instrumental to me. He feels broken from love. Show me, I give you. But he also talks about how much hope this girl gives him for love, you know what I mean? The chorus of this song is just great. It's a great sing-along, simple words. I think you should go listen to it because Vedo's going to be able to sing it a lot better than I do. The next song is called Do You Mind? And it actually features Chris Brown. I didn't know that Chris Brown was a feature in here when I wrote down that it sounded like Chris Brown. And in this song, there's some lyrics such as, I can tell it's juicy. So you can already know what this song's about. It's called Do You Mind? Come on. That is just classic Chris Brown right there. And it features Chris Brown, but what's weird is this song is kind of asking this girl to share her body with him in all the ways that he wants to have it. But it's just weird that Chris Brown is the one talking about that. I feel like this next song, the 6th track, Consistency, talks about how this track or the album is consistent with the sounds. They basically, all the songs sound very similar, and I know that's a common theme in albums, whatever. I'm just saying all these songs sound pretty similar. Keeps that slow head bumping drums going, simple drums and melody in here. He's asking this girl in the song for consistency and all the things that she can offer him, how she acts. My personal take is that true love is not really wanting anyone. My personal take is that true love is not really wanting anything from the person that you love. I don't know what this guy, but in terms of consistency, how I feel about consistency, it's great, but if you always do what you always done, you're always gonna get what you always got, and that's just a fact, you know what I mean? So it's a good song though. Sounds good. This next track is called You and Me. Every single track has the It's Vedo Baby tag. It's Vedo, baby. So, the beat's a little nice. It's got a little bit of this going on. You're just like in the car like, oh, you know what I mean? But he talks about how he wants to get drunk and stumble onto something with this girl, and how he wants to be alone with her, get a little one-on-one action, like he says. And it kind of honestly carries a little bit of the vibe of that New Justice album by Justin Bieber. Not new, from like a spring and a half ago, but like just something about the way the sounds and the drums mix together. It's just like so happy that it's like, it kind of gives me that Justin Bieber album vibe. This next song is called Forever. Again, it's a similar sound to the rest of the album.
I don't mind.
It's just a little bit slower. He talks about how he wants to make it last forever with this girl, and that, quote, all she has to do is say yes. So, this next song, Tell Me, track number 9, kind of starts off with like a Drake type of sample. I don't know. And he's talking about how he wants to get this girl out of her comfort zone. When's the last thing you did something that made you uncomfortable? When's the last thing you did something that helped you grow? And he wants to kind of be this catalyst for her. This next beat starts off way funkier. And that right there is what this whole song is about. DAF stands for Dick Ain't Free. It's a super, super Chris Brown type of sound. I don't know about the lyrics because I haven't really studied Chris Brown lyrics before. I feel like the intro of this song kind of sounds like some Kid Laroi music. And it keeps the same relaxed, love, lyrical rap type of sound. You know what I mean? Like, you could say anything over this track about love and it would just sound so good. It talks about how he's sensing doubt in this girl, and it's making him a little uneasy, a little uncomfortable. You know what I mean? He says, baby, you're the reason I'm like this, talking about how stressed he is, talking about this and that. So he's a little concerned that it might be because of someone else. You know what I mean? He's stressed because he says, who is it? And he just sounds like she's slipping. This next track features Tink. I've never heard of Tink before, but so yeah, he talks about wanting someone who understands him for just all the ways he exists and communicates, but it can't just be anybody. So he's kind of a beggar and a chooser right here, but that's what music allows you to do. You know what I mean? He says he's going to try his best, but that he's still a mess. He wants someone to love him like he loves, and he says, I know we ain't perfect, but I'm perfect for you. And that's all you can really ask for in love. You know what I mean? No human is perfect, but people can be perfect for each other, and he's seeming like he found the girl that's perfect for him. These are classic love song lyrics. It's in a classic love song track. It's good to hear. This next song is like a little more like, I said like spacey vibes. I don't know if that's really the right word for it, but it talks about he's the only one for this girl. It's called Only, so he's the only one for this girl. It says, I'm your N-word and your side piece. So, he's playing all the roles that he thinks this girl needs to be fulfilled, And with that being said, that's the last track on this album. I'm going to end up giving this album an A rating. I really like these beats. They have plenty of room for some lyrical verses, which I would have liked, a little bit of actual kind of rap over love. It's not criticism at all. It's just kind of how I would have read these tracks. Vedo, if you ever need a feature or want to work together, hit me up. I think I could provide some nice verses over this, you know what I mean? Also, though, in this whole entire album, we never really heard the girl's perspective. I know the girl's not making the album, but I'm sure she had at least one thing to say about this, but I never heard any of it, and I liked his energy in this album about recognizing his own worth without sounding like he's too cocky. He's talking about how he needs to be earned and respected. It's very body and sex positive, and I just feel like doing it in this type of manner is rare for men artists, and I just would like to see more of it in the industry, frankly. And so, with all that being said, the amount of control and discipline that he showed in this album with the things that he wanted to say, really respect. Chris Brown talking about he wants to do what he can with their body. I don't know, but that's for Chris Brown and some lawyers to figure out. Other than that, though, I'm going to be giving this album an A rating, placing it right there. And that is the last new album from this week. Our last album for this episode is a friend requested album. It's called The Story So Far by The Story So Far. Zach, thank you for recommending this album. If you want to recommend an album, hit me up with a text, hit me up with a comment, hit me up with a Snapchat. Please get in contact with me. It's free content. It helps me make content. I need more content. I like the content. Please hit me up with some content. Without further ado, this is The Story So Far. It is 10 songs over 30 minutes. Let's get right into it. I listened to this album at work. I actually listened to 3 of these albums at work, which was nice because I was getting paid to listen to these albums. So this first track is called Smile. So right away, as I skipped ahead a little bit to the song, the intro had a little bit of slow, spaced out, kind of like that electric, like synth drums and electric guitar, higher notes, and it instantly got right into what I would consider the emo punk sound. He talks about this person leaving him behind and hurting him. He says, "Are you blocking all the things that have to do with me?" It's a very emotional lyrics. There is a lot of pain, anger, sadness involved in this first track. And it all comes through with the loud sounds, the loud drums, and just the general anger. He's asking if in this song, he's asking if the person who left him feels like she fits in now, if people think she's cool. Maybe he thought that she felt like she was an outcast for being with him. I'm not too sure. This next track opens with some loud drums and guitar. I mean, like, you're at the concert, like, literally going crazy from the start of the song, you know what I mean? He talks about how this person he knows cheated him, maybe cheated on him. He could be using it. I'm not sure. I don't want to tell the story for him. And he talks about how he hopes she feels the heavy gloom from everything she's done, hence the title Heavy Gloom. And he feels like she still controls him, and he is not happy with that at all. Okay, the sound of this song is still pretty angry. The overall mood of this song is still pretty angry. But I think that that's what this genre is about. I don't really dabble too much in this emo punk genre. This is actually my first time listening to an entire album in it. Thank you, Zach, for this experience. And so this next track is called Distaste. It's got some fucking ripper power chords at the start. This guy is absolutely jamming on the drums in the back, and it talks about how this guy, he knows he's in her head, and he thinks it makes her act poorly towards others. This comes out when he says, "I think I'll slip inside and start making you aim at everyone," talking about the barrel of a gun that she's pointing at people. It's emotional, hurt, painful music. And he's talking about how he's having a hard time understanding why or how this person replaced him. This next song is called Solo. It carries the same weight and sound as the other songs. So again, some very passionate, intense recordings of the lyrics. He says, the song is kind of about how they mistreat each other. He's talking about how I mislead you, you're not trusting me, and you have to know every single place I go. So it seems like trust is completely out the window in this one. And obviously that's creating room for this guy to make some music that sounds pretty painful. This fifth track has all the other instruments a little more involved in the intro, and it talks about how he wants to figure out how to tell her that it's over, but he knows she's just going to make fun of it. He says, "You help me with my honesty while I'm yelling at your ghost. I'll spend all my time with you in my hindsight." He thinks that she doesn't realize what she's missing out yet, This next track is called How You Are. It talks about how he's keeping an eye on her from afar. The loud chords continue, the loud drums continue, the screaming continues. And he says in the song, "Patience is useless when I'm sober and you're wasted." He says he can't figure out if he's running from him or the girl that he's talking about. The seventh track is called Nerve. It continues with the same sound as the other songs, the same theme of the album, this emo type of sound. He can't really understand why this girl left him, and he's seeing red. He's getting really upset about this, and he uses a lot of colors to make metaphors to emotions such as gray, indigo, red, dark blue, and more. He says a lot of times, "You still come up." Sounds like this person, staying on his mind or something like that. The next track is a little gentler, he's kind of going on. He's talking about how he can still picture her. She's kind of like a ghost to him. It continues with the colors. He's feeling dark blue. He says, "I'm feeling dark blue a lot." It's a shorter, almost like an interlude. It has very few lyrics, but I feel like they hold just as much weight as the other tracks. This 9th track is called "Scowl." Again, a similar sound as the rest of the album. The headbanging energy continues. The anger continues. It talks about how this girl is wasting his time, and he knows she's going to try to come back in his life. But he knows also that she won't fix what he needs her to fix about him. He says, "You change up your face, attempt to erase." Talking about how every time she comes looking different, but he knows it's just an attempt to erase what she's done in the past. This last song is called "Stalemate." It wraps up with the same classic sound of this emo punk genre that I'm experiencing. It talks about how they were both not doing the best things that they could have to maintain their relationship. She was bailing, but he is the one who let it go stale. It seems like he gets angry a lot in this song, which, coming into a relationship is something that isn't a strong characteristic in the first place. And at the end, the song kind of fades out and dies, and the album ends. So this album is filled with pain. Just filled and filled and filled with pain. He talks about how he can't get this person out of his head. He's constantly dealing with the pain. You know what I mean? He uses in this album, it seems like, the loud chords and drums to mimic the nonstop noise that goes through your head when you're dealing with something like this. He really doesn't like the person, but he's kind of obsessing about them the whole time. It seems like either he can't stop, or he's addicted to I don't know, or he just needs, because he talks in this album about how bad they are for each other, but he keeps coming back. And again, there were technical difficulties with this recording. I lost the rest of it, kind of bummed about it, but I gave this album an A for all the reasons I previously listed. So sorry about this chopped outro, but thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoy your week. Happy New Music Friday, and I'll see you next week with a new episode. Peace.